If you want to change your life, you may need to change your environment and your thinking. I'm Alex Ansary. It's December 4th, 2018. So I'm covering a lot of ground today. But what I don't attempt to do is pretend to be something that I'm not or someone that I'm not at a certain level of success. However, the idea of success is something that we need to determine on our own what that is and how we're going to get there. Okay, so I don't have all the answers, and I'm not the best example. But is there some truth that I think that I can share with you that's not just political, that's not just talking about the supernatural, that's not just talking about what's taking place with the sun? Absolutely. I think that there are ways in which we can change our thinking to a certain degree. I'm learning certain things. I also think we can learn about the light by learning about the darkness. And so we could start at a certain place on the map, if you will, with regards to research, and then find ourselves waking up to certain things that are not healthy, waking up to certain things that we probably shouldn't watch and or listen to, waking up to certain concepts. You know, I've talked to you about certain people out there that are deceivers in the alternative media and how it could actually be disastrous to obsess even on certain people that you don't like, because the negative energy that it can actually draw the person that's stewing in that state of mind. And a lot of things, this is just kind of a free flow, but these are things that I believe, and I've talked about here and there, but we have these stuck images. And I listen to other people in their lectures, and they talk about stuck images as well in the subconscious. And as I learn more about this, my own intuition fills in the blanks with regards to how this works. Mind control. A lot of people have a lot of images that have been actually thrust into their face and into their world. And so there's a lot of competition energy. I've talked a lot about the illusions of separation, how a lot of that's actually a program. And there's some soul entrapment there, spiritual entrapment to dupe people to stoop to certain behaviors, whether or not it's arguably right or not, right? And there's debates about this, the use of violence or violence in general within this society. So on the topic of changing one's environment, certain environments are really charged, not just with electricity, but with the people that live in those environments. So, you know, we know I'm always giving Portland, Oregon as an example, but think about wherever you are from or wherever you live and where you're from and where you move to, that also might have an impact for better or for worse on your psyche, as well as your state of mental health. A lot of people right now are not in a good state of awareness regarding things in general. Things are super political. So that's obviously a main level of programming. Environmentally, though, environments where there is a lot of pain and suffering affect the person that's tapping into that energy unless they're able to, be grounded. I'm not trying to sound super spiritual. This is exactly as I see it. Because unless they're able to separate themselves from certain other things, they become it. And you literally have certain regions where there's constantly chaos, constantly some kind of abuse, constantly some kind of other energy or other repetitive patterns. So where I'm from in Portland, Oregon, there's certain streets, like in Old Town Chinatown, where you have a repetitive nature of certain types of programs and ways in which people are losing themselves to drink and other things. There could be other realities. A lot of people like to cite places in England, for example, that some people believe holds a very special magnetic significance. I think it was Glastonbury, in England, and Dion Fortune has a number of spiritual rituals. Don't be scared by the word ritual, because what a ritual is, in my understanding, is something as simple as an affirmation or a protective prayer. So there could be Christian rituals. There could be other forms of rituals that aren't in any way demonic or worshiping lower beings, but maybe they're labeled that by members of Orthodox religions. So the power of belief is really, really important. And on the internet, there are a lot of people that are being programmed to curse others. So the power of prayer and understanding that that is something that I believe strongly has its role in our lives. Not everyone wants to hear that, but how we apply our thoughts. But being aware of how we apply our thoughts, being really, really critical in our life, is not the same as believing that everything that we focus on, we attract. I think that with regards to law of attraction and where people take it, there's a lot of wild assumptions that people really can manifest everything that they just want. I think that's totally a misunderstanding of how things work. The other thing that needs to be brought up is people's relationships and friendships are often ones that don't express a mutual level of respect, and not everybody can work with others that are at that level of alpha male, but also in the female world, alpha female, right? I don't think that it's really all that separated with regards to, pecking orders and how like certain middle managers, not all certain middle managers can be when they have a position of power. And I think that a lot of us have worked enough in this world that we've seen what it's like. And even thinking about that can almost make one dizzy. Again, focus on self-help. Focus on, deprogramming. Focus on something positive. But yeah, but there is power in sharing. I remember working at a job in Portland at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, and I felt like my brain was being dumbed down walking through the doors. And I would say to myself, probably wrote it down somewhere, shared with other coworkers, if there was like an EEG, taken a photograph or a video of our brain, it could show like a whoosh, or even the field or aura itself, and then almost being squished and or compressed and or suppressed on an energetic level. That building that I worked in, Ruth Chris Steakhouse, and then downstairs was the change area. Well, downstairs, that was just down the street from Old Town Chinatown. So in the old days, the underground was linked. So if you want to talk about paranormal and ghosts regarding Shanghai tunnels, for 5+ years, I worked in that type of environment. And it was necessary for me to be totally outside of the restaurant environment in Portland, Oregon, for me to be able to taste any type of success close to what I have now, which isn't money, right? But it is the living stability just enough to where I can focus on doing this full-time rather than being someone else's slave, even if it would bring more money into my life. And even if I would like to have more support, and I want to thank all of you that are supporting over at Patreon, but your help is needed during the holiday season and winter season, but very much is appreciated because it really required me losing a stable source of income in the city to begin a series of steps that will lead to my deeper freedom off the grid, struggling on a level, but still being proud of the successes that I've been able to achieve. Hence this video now. There are certain things, right, that I go through, or certain things rather that I have to overcome, whether I like it or not, to live this way of life, period. Otherwise, I would have already left this way of life and gone back to Portland, Oregon, even with all the riots and whatnot. There's some people that can't handle the isolation. There are very few people that live isolated off the grid, but also do videos on YouTube. So the dynamics of the different energies that I'm mixing, from the digital energy communicating with you instantaneously to connecting with the deep energy of nature, that which has been here for some time, and the trees that still remain, the trees that surround me, that is a combination of elements and forces. So the reason I bring that up is just simply to remind you of the things, other than making videos, other than other things and things you might be aware of, remind you of the things that I need to work on a regular basis. To be disciplined enough to be able to make these kinds of videos without having the dopamine release that may come to other media people. Picture Luke Kradowski or others, not a big fan, but picture lives that some people do live and lead regarding travel and other things. And then for some of us, the world wasn't as receptive to our truth, for better or for worse. How I make sense out of that and go beyond playing victim is understand actually where we are to be grateful for how things actually turn out in the end, and reevaluate, well, what is success? If the goal was actually made over a decade ago to be off the grid, and successfully like transmitting to people's homes. And I don't know if I even took it that far, but I think that I did. I didn't really see how it would be done because back then we didn't have live streaming like we do now. We didn't have the technologies that we do now, but I was on cable access TV, but still foreseeing something in the future. And there could be other future remote broadcasting opportunities, but this one's kind of a unique one and being done with satellite. A lot of people don't even use satellite internet. So it already has the hallmarks of something that I asked for 10 years ago. It may be lacking certain things, but this is to inspire some of you that could be better, well off mentally, financially, emotionally, with family. Really, you need to understand that I started over, if you will, with nothing in a backpack. Seriously, my initial belongings are somewhere in Oregon, and many, many childhood items are no longer with me. And I can talk about that in an autobiography or another video, and I've talked about my life story in other videos. But what does success mean for you? Because when I look at what I sought to create 10 years ago and where I am now, I can see certain elements coming into fruition. And this experience is still blossoming. But this is all the story of pulling back from an environment that was ultimately destructive to my creativity long term, which is a better way to put it. Because I was very reactive to what was going on in my environment. And still, I think I refer to Portland too much. I still find it relevant, and we'll see all of this commentary as relevant because I'm describing a place I know really well in a way that other media people are not. I mean, there's plenty of things to comment on. Alcoholism, sex trafficking, the paranormal, overpopulation in a particular area, not necessarily for the whole planet, but seeing the nature of some humans to want to stack themselves and stack themselves even more, where they talk about the world being overpopulated as they literally live in populated areas because they don't want to live a rural way of life. I'm not saying that population issues aren't there. They are. So is the availability of resources on a population that is dependent on the way that things are. And if we were to see a major wipeout of our electric grid, we would see a lot of changes, of course, to relationships. But think about human cognitive function. No electricity. So we have an electric field around us. And when you're in, let's say, a coffee shop and you're near a smart meter, it doesn't matter if you're drinking organic carrot juice at Whole Foods. There's a field that seems to infect a lot of those indoor areas, especially with fluorescent lights. And so if you look at the political situation and economic, it's also, for lack of a better word, the feng shui of the environments of these places. There's also going to be certain times where some of us, our sensitivities are through the charts. And it's like we either get away from those things that we're super sensitive to, or we could unconsciously take it on. Now, we're not in a world where people are taught about how to ground out their sensitivities and how to deal with some of those stuck images. By the way, I'm going to do a brief meditation or share with you what was taught with me. One exercise regarding clearing out, right, the stuck images within the head. That'll be coming to VHX. The link is down below. That is a members only area for $5.95 per month. And it's a way that some people support my work other than Patreon. It allows me another space where I don't have to worry about certain things being too hot topic. And it's a space where in the future, as certain things return to becoming hot topic issues, certain geopolitical realities, that's going to be a platform where I'm going to speak my mind if it's not safe to do so here. But for right now, I'm using this moment. And this is a time, by the way, in which when I look at YouTube, although I try to, for my own mental health, stay away from it, I'm trying not to watch too much. I can see that mental health is a number one topic. I can see that regionally here in Colorado, although it's another video, but I'll tell you, I think there's a fair amount of spiritual warfare going on. In that town over that I'm always referencing, one of the larger ones, sure are a lot of people checking out, knowing what we know about the disincarnate spirits, jinn, archons, tomato, but that, and it is said about the jinn that they can inhabit rock or earth or tree. Here's the question I have. How much rock? What about cities that are built on rock? Okay. What if there's, are you with me? Are you with me now? What if there's a whole region of people that are like, ugh, and there's signs that something's already off with their population, that people are experiencing a certain level of spiritual attack. It's certain people might be experiencing like the tourism element. Hey, we got money. We're having a good time. There are other people that are like, ugh. I mean, you've seen Vegas, but there's other elements of the have and have nots, where you have the people that have their waterfront house in California, and then you have the people that are like, ugh. And they may be there because they're trying to find healing on that California boardwalk that apparently has quite the vibe. I've only experienced it once, San Diego. Didn't bump into Mark Dice, but had a good shout at the big ship that they have there, the naval ship. Talked about the irony of all this worship of the military while our country is basically vulnerable to foreign nations. So yeah, it's all about like good cognitive functioning, right? And it's like, I don't even know how to title this because I'm all over the map, but it's like, how does someone really keep it together in a world that almost seems to have an agenda? People in this world, they're in positions of influence. There's staff in the mental health field in some cases. I mean, we got some people literally on welfare that aren't actually earning their money. They're just pushing paperwork. And I'm stepping back going, wow, this is not only a broken system, this might as well be money laundering. I mean, seriously, like welfare is one thing, and that would be honest. Okay, so you're disabled, you're just not capable of helping people. Okay, you're disabled. But you have people like almost at a spine, like, I earned this job because, and I went to college, and some people were in a position to be able to go to college to get certain degrees, or to be in other positions of power or influence. Some people place their allies in power or influence in bureaucracies. We have poverty pimps, for example. They'll collect money from the people, the taxes, to help the homeless. Does it actually go to help the homeless? Where's all this money going to? I know, well, I'm going to call my friend over here, Bill. We're going to make 85 beds over here, $6.5 million. What? You need $6.5 million to build something with 85 beds? I'm sorry, what? Where's the other $6 million going? Up your nose? I mean, literally, this is the way governments run. It's not just the West Coast, not just California, it's not just Portland, it's other places. You have a system that promotes discrimination. Oh, stop your sensitivities and your snowflakeness. It's not just about ethnicity. It's about them throwing damn good men out in the street. Oh, you're too old. We have no jobs for you. And you see, I guess I am fortunate in the sense that I have some health and youth, but I deal with my fair share of scrutinization. It is never good for the mental health of anyone to think that they and they alone are being singled out and victimized. It is very good to, especially if you find ways of going, because, there's a time in this town, and I still struggle in ways that others don't, but I've come across other people that have had their struggles finding work, finding friends, finding anything at all, other conscious people to talk. I realize it's somewhat of a mountain island. It's kind of a new one on the fly, like island or a mountain island. Where it is almost like we're an island, but no man could be an island. There is no such thing as island. I used to scream literally through the megaphone in Portland, Oregon, Portland's not an island, because people were acting like it was. Portland's not an island. But one can literally feel the strong primordial energies of nature and almost feel separated from the rest of the world's madness. And that's true. That's true. To a degree. Then there's the internal madness. Oh, that's right. There's some mad people here in Colorado. And I mean mad. Oh, don't let the calm stone demeanor fool you. There's a whole layer of apathy regarding the things that matter. And there's a little bit of inspiration. There's a big suppression of people just coming out of the closet as if they're a scared homosexual, afraid a gang's going to beat them up. There's like a suppressed spiritual side of people that are here. They're like, ooh, hey, get a rainbow. Where it's like in Portland, like, just let it all out. Although there's a lot of, demonic, dark, shamanistic stuff, witchcraft, stuff like that in Portland. But here it's like, oh, you guys are like people becoming spiritual like 40 years ago in major like developed cities. But you see, there's a benefit to having that mountain shield us, as long as we're able to deal with stuff, elemental, darker, lower energies around us. You could be somewhere like deep in nature. and be like, just, tuning fork, ding, just the whole, you know, yeah, and then over in the distance somewhere, come here, you effing Edward. Come here, you effing inward. Pop, 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 pop. Just like some sort of noises in the wilderness just to make noise because the silence isn't bearable. And I've heard it all. And I've gone through different stages of being shocked and whoa to other things that have happened, to things I don't even talk about anymore. Because I started to realize, well, there's got to be something more than this. I mean, there's so much nature, so much potential. I don't just mean here, I mean just in all kinds of positions where people live the grid and people live in urban terrain because it's so toxic where some of us came from. And that's the thing that some people don't realize here in Colorado, that people like me left the West Coast because of what's taking place. And so we have to deal with, on one level, the demonization, be called a doomsday fear porn soothsayer, false prophet. And things actually begin to manifest, and I'm seeing things beginning to manifest. And kind of on a side rail, we could talk about this in their video, and there are people that are acting like, oh, we were warning you about this the whole time. We totally thought this was possible. Or they're going, oh, wow, well, maybe Trump's not delivering on it. Oh my God, why does this sound like 8 years ago? This is so deja vu. Like with Obama. Yes, okay, get caught up. Okay, so can we be on the same side now? No? We're still like, oh, but I thought he was... No, he's not. And the next one, it won't either. Okay, is there any way we can exist outside of the top-down pyramid? No, just... So this is the world of ideas, then, in this fallen world. This is the world of ideas where we share ideas of how things could be better. But if you get stressed out from that way of life, and you start thinking that, you can just go back into the matrix... Or maybe the stresses of life, maybe the system has, someone to help counsel you and fix your problems and realize what truly stresses you out. Ultimately, you need to heal yourself. Heal. There's ways to do that. And I've given you like a number of different examples where the imagination might be coming up in your head. Hey, are there people that I think are my best homie, my best friend? Best girlfriend, best boyfriend, whatever the case may be for you. And if you actually look at whether or not they put you down when it comes to your ideas and the things that you value or what brings certain people around, right? It's really time to evaluate those things because we ourselves as people have a lot of dead weight and baggage from the past. And this is the time where it's like there's a quickening going on. There does seem to be a shift. Why not be in line with the shift as the stars align to certain degrees and move certain things forward and come to certain levels of understandings? So there is, and we've talked about this awareness of the digital addiction, how it's affecting people. They don't take it anywhere close to where I do, right? But that's okay. I will calmly, to the best of my ability, keep breaking down, and I have a lot of videos where I already have, how technology affects human relationships. I just did a separate video on it. So stepping back from certain things that are unhealthy is one thing to do. And even if, and I don't have the money to do certain things or buy certain foods, and I don't, or partake in certain things like the sauna, there's certain things that are really good for the human body to detoxify. So especially if, it's a sauna that doesn't have chlorine. And I noticed periods in which I really dealt with a lot of energy shifting and moving stuff forward when I had access to a sauna, and how that was pretty short-lived anyways. And those were periods also recently when I had the RV before I got here, where I was in Alamosa and also Taos, New Mexico. And so, those were experiences at the gym where they have the sauna, where it had a profound impact on my health, along with moving, the constant moving, doing videos at different places. So even for the person that doesn't do videos, changing up your environment. Obviously, that takes place in a big way when you're traveling, but even within your city, you could be sitting down, journaling somewhere and reading a book somewhere. And so you're generating certain brain waves, thinking about certain things. Who knows what type of spiritual effect that could be happening or affecting in the world around you. So there's a reason I actually stopped taking my computer here to town and doing things online. And now I'm hardly ever online looking at news or spending lots of time online. There's things that I'll look at and I'll occasionally read, but the constant staring into the monitor, the constant, I even realized I need to work harder at, keeping my eyes focused anyways on the camera when I'm recording. So I decided today I would have changed the actual environment again of my actual living quarters. Instead of being down on myself that my living space is my actual recording space, is my workspace, is my, well, that may be how it is, and it's a very small space, but I have a cat now, so it's a little less lonely, and I realize I need to own this space and the energy within it. And the same thing goes for the space up in here and within this body. And so, yeah, that's another thing. We can clear out a certain chunk of energy, but it can just be brought back, just like one could go to the sauna and then continue smoking, and then their lungs could go back to the state in which it was. Because of course the sauna is a great way to deal with clearing out the lungs. So I've said enough. There's going to be other videos that I'll be bringing you, including specialized ones on meditation techniques in the members only. There's also, I'll tell you this one more detail, a video in which I'm talking about basic grounding meditation for about 45 minutes. And you can find that on this channel. Till next time.